Okay, 2:56. Okay, yeah. No, we are now back live. Thank you. So we'll continue with our terms of employment. Have committee chair make that motion for us, please.
I move that the board approve the recommended changes by the Labor Committee to the terms of employment between the Board of Trustees and the in-school support staff.
Thank you. Any discussions, any comments? Okay, I see now. I know Michael is just getting too close. Okay, can I call a question, please? All in favor? Okay, carried unanimously. Thank you. We will go to 6.5. Yeah, policy appendix B. So, Mr. Ella, if you don't mind making the motion, please, and then we'll have that debate. Thank you.
I move that the board approve policy 7, appendix B, trustee honoraria expense schedule as presented, and that the revised appendix now be in effect for the division.
Okay, thank you. Can I have you speak to it if you would like to speak to it?
Sure, yeah, it's come up multiple times this year on whether or not a meeting, committee of the whole specifically, under an hour would be a separate rate. I can recall 3 times that it's come up, and so it kind of was a little bit of a pressing thing by the committee as a whole here. So policy made the wording, so committee of the whole less than 1 hour, we added that to per diem, and then finance did the rate on that to $25.
Okay, thank you for that, Genesis. Okay, I see trustee Miller's hands up. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is something that I guess I brought up in the way that in the event of the need for an emergent briefing, and that was, I think, the word that came up when we were discussing it in the finance committee, which I think explains the intent of it much better than committee of the whole. It's not necessarily intended as a committee of the whole the way that we use it for other work, but for the purpose of an emergent briefing that we're not taking in recognition of the time for that emergent briefing. There's now a rate attached to it in order for us to be able to be briefed on emerging issues as they arise when needed. My personal take on this is that an emergent briefing should be part of the honorarium, because it is part and parcel of a trustee's job to be up to date on issues, to be able to communicate with constituents in that area and to fulfill our role. But in lieu of the time that sometimes it does take to attend these meetings, generally virtually, there has been a rate been put on that. So I just wanted to clarify, I guess, a little around the wording of committee of the whole, that it's not intended as, you know, a meeting with an agenda as we have it in other ways, but it is more, my intention was more geared around that word emergent briefing.
All information received. Right. So thank you. Any other comments from virtual? No. Okay. So if I may comment on that, pretty much. Go ahead, Trustee Tagwood.
I was just going to say that usually if there's just information, forwarding information, we can do that by email, giving us some information. If it's a discussion and it's going to be a lot of different inputs, then I have never known one to last under an hour. Has there been any? Not since I've been a part of it anyways. And that includes special meetings, and the special meetings are usually different than the committee of the whole, because at a special meeting, you can pass a motion. And that's for really, that was when we had some budget issues and with school closures, we had special meetings. So I don't even see the point of this, to tell you the truth.
Trustee Tagwood, if I know, like, committee chair have alluded to, we've had some of these discussions about 3-4 times. What is going on is that, for lack of word, committee of the whole is the best name to put to this because it's just information receiving or sharing. Okay. To your other point, we've had instances when the minister, during COVID, 4 or 5 months ago, right? Friday at 3:30, quick email, Henry and Charlie are on the phone in the next half hour, right? On a Friday, and we know how government operates. And then everybody does till Monday. But then trustees needed some of those information, right? In their back pockets, how they do their grocery shopping over the weekend. Hey, what happened? We had a minister talk. And Henry and Charlie have that information in their pocket, and there's some on social media. And in these situations, social media comments or this thing could be different than what the minister have really presented, right, to chairs and superintendents, right? Like today, this morning, we didn't have our assistant superintendent here. Guess what? Yesterday afternoon, she sent out a listing and quick, right? She made the announcements. Today, deputy is on the line with, so some of this is what we're talking about. So as the chair, or whoever is the chair, can make that decision. This will take 25 minutes, no less, no more. So when we come, it's just giving you that quick information, right? Chit into your back pocket. Any further discussion, defer them to us on Monday. It's just something to guide you. So it won't be at that point to say, let's sit and talk for more than 2-3 hours. No. On a Friday afternoon at 4:30, and you want to get out of town, let's this wrap up in 20 minutes. This is quick and easy way to be doing some of this, right? Why did we do put compensation on it? You and I know very well our time and the work we do is valuable, but cannot be fully compensated. But this is something that under an hour, right, will encourage or will entice people to be there, receive that information. Yes, it's part of the work we do, and compensation we get. Like we said, we cannot put value onto it. It's just the compensation to help motivate us to do the work.
Well, I would think that you could send that information by an email like you've been doing, but whatever, that's fine.
We do that, but sometimes, again, to your point, again, this is when we send that in talking, it's easier. So if I send that email and I'm getting 20 responses back, right? Everybody has a question. But when we are together on the phone, quickly, hey, Henry, 1 + 1 is 2. Why did she make this decision? Because when we sit with the minister, a lot goes on. The questions that come, you may have it, somebody else may have it, she may have answered it to us already, right? At those briefings, that's exactly what happens. Because guess what? We politicians talking like this, when we get a minister, sometimes I feel sorry for her because everybody is coming at her with such good question because we want to understand the thoughts in the department or the ministry making us these decisions. And COVID was the best and the good example, right? Coming on with doctors and the professionals to make some of these decisions for them to explain so then that we are vested on how to respond to our constituents and public. Okay, so to me, I will support this because it's the quickest way to make sure we are informed in doing our work. Okay. Any further comments or questions? Okay, Michael again. Okay, Michael, go ahead. Sorry.
I might,
Then we'll come to you, Trustee.
I might just also address the kind of it being useless point, because I've heard at least from our superintendent and from our board chair that there have been, decisions about, well, should we discuss this as a committee of the whole? But then it's, no, we can't because we can't afford the $700+ that it would take just to discuss that. And so that's kind of important information that's being said, well, we can't afford to do it. This allows us to not make those difficult decisions and just say, okay, let's do it and save the board money as well.
Thank you. Trustee.
I was just going to say there was a considerable amount of discussion during the meeting. And $50 was also an option, 25 and 50. and there was no common ground, so we went with the 25, but we can entertain both.
Thank you. So the recommendation from the board is 25, but like financial chair, committee chair is saying, right, it was between 50 and 25, and the board agreed, the committee agreed on 25 on that discussion. Okay, any further comments? So we can move along. No, I see none. All right, I will then call the question. Okay. All in favor of this motion? Now start from, okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Oppose? Okay. And I'm in favor of it, so we 4-3. Thank you. So the motion is carried. Okay. We will move to committee reports now. Oh, yes. Board sub evaluation, September 13th and the 27th. So we're looking for, okay. I will ask for the motion and then we will, okay, please. Will I have someone please make the motion? Yeah.
That the board approved Terry Gunderson as the facilitator for the superintendent evaluation on September 13th, 2022, and the board self-evaluation on September 27th, 2022.
Okay, thank you. I open it up for debate. So, Mr. Gunderson have done work for us. We have other facilitators, but we've always have stayed with Mr. Gunderson because he knows our board very well and have supported our board through thick and thin. So for that, I will say, this is for our annual evaluation for the board itself, and then for the superintendent's evaluation. Okay, any discussions? Yeah, go ahead.
Are there any, is he the only option?
We have, so what happens is that ASBA, I don't know who all they have now. They had Cindy and one other guy, he retired, and it was only Cindy and Terry. I don't know if they brought in that pool. Do we know that, Mr. Bishop, if they brought in that pool?
So there are other evaluators available. So the board could select somebody else if they wanted to. However, these dates were confirmed as available by Mr. Gunderson. But there are others that are available.
Okay, how about you take it, Trustee Teresa?
Well, I was just thinking Mr. Gunderson is so predictable. And we've had him quite a few years and nothing ever changes. You've met quality, above quality standards and almost everything. And it's so predictable that he's gonna say the same thing again. I mean, I'm not saying that what he is saying isn't right, but it's just so predictable.
Okay, Trustee Tagwood, yeah, go ahead. I can't hear you, muted.
We can't hear anything. Our audio's gone. My audio's gone.
Oh, your audio is gone, okay.
I can hear everyone.
There you go.
Can you hear it, Marilyn?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, can you hear me now, Trustee Tagwood?
Got it now. It's back on now.
Back on now, okay. So I'll ask Trustee Sarah to repeat a comment.
Thank you. What I was saying, Donna, was I felt Mr. Gunderson is very predictable. And almost every year it's the same results. We've reached above quality standards in everything. And we just know it's the same every year, and I just wondered if perhaps somebody else might be fresh and new, different perspectives, different ideas. This is just my opinion. I'm not saying I don't want to go with
Okay, thank you for those comments. Yeah, trustee.
So as somebody who's new to the board, I don't know Mr. Gunderson, but if we are concerned that he's not going to give us feedback, could we change or adapt some of the evaluation questions so we get more open-ended feedback from him? I'm not sure if that's possible, but
The, okay, I'll hold my comments. Okay, go ahead, trustee Wheeler.
Thank you. I have worked with Mr. Henderson for numerous years in a past position, and I think I can understand where the comments are coming from, but the style of moving us through the evaluation and the outcomes and the way it's kind of all brought together in the end of actionable items of things we need to work on and things we need to change. It's a good thing, I think, that we're meeting those standards in all areas, and we continue to hear that. The option to look at other facilitators, knowing from what I know in the province as far as facilitators go, that the amount of money for facilitators in this area can vary, and that this direction, the motion that's currently on the table, I think is feasible for our board.
Thank you for that. Michael, any comment?
I might just clarify for Jolene. According to our policy, we can change the questions because it's a sample now. So if we wanted to, we could adjust it and have different responses.
Thank you. At that, we have our evaluation questions set already, based on the school act, right? And what happens, I hear what you're saying, there are other evaluators, but when you look at the school board business, not all evaluators and presenters like to work with school board. So there, yes, it comes with some form of specialization or specialty to it. As Mr. Bouchard is saying, if you have somebody coming in here that have really not gone through that phase and lenses of principal, right, being a superintendent, really understanding the school legislation. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we have more than 2 being around here for the past 10 years. We've had just about 3 evaluators that I've seen. And Mr. Gunderson have taken up pretty much in my 10 years, maybe 5 or 6 years of those, simply because it follows and understands legislation and where government is going and the changes that are being thrown on us all the time. Like you said, you hear the same thing, but if we don't do some of those things that is legislated to us, he will tell us and he's told that this we can improve, this we've done very well, because he goes back and looked at a lot of the work we are doing before he comes, right? The motions that we are putting on our APs, right? All of our own. So it's, so to that, I don't know. Yeah, that's all I can say.
No, that's understandable.
Okay, go ahead.
I think maybe in the future, just kind of hearing what's being heard, that maybe in the future we have the option of being presented with 3 facilitators and kind of what would fit our needs for this year best going forward. Not this time around,
Next
but
time. Thank you, yeah.
So there's really 2 pieces. There's the superintendent and the board. I think he's the facilitator. So to your point, trustee Taylor, Sarah, like you guys can determine how you want that structured. Or what is it that you want from that process? And he can probably tailor it to that. But I think that could be a discussion that you could have a committee of the whole meeting. Like, what do you want this to look like in September? Because I'm not sure, Kim, when he starts asking for our feedback. For example, you guys will have to do a questionnaire, right, on your processes like that. Do you recall when that's asked?
Usually August.
in August, right? So you kind of have maybe next month to talk about is, do you want something different from him? I would just put that out there that, he works for you.
Madam Vice Chair, you want to note that?
Yeah, I would like to just say a couple of things. Terry is a very nice man, and we had him several times. Because it was the very same questions, he accidentally used the one from the year before when he was explaining it, and that upset me quite a bit, that the wrong year was being used, that we were discussing. And perhaps if we could, I would say we actually have to change those, because I don't want something from another year used in place of it. We've had somebody different. Last year we had Kim, and then I believe we had Cindy one year. But those are my concerns with Terry, that we use those same questions, and then he's got different ones on file, and he brought up the wrong one. And that was not good.
So,
So
Madam Vice,
make it for sure that we are going to change the questions and look at what we want to get out of this, then I would be fine with it.
can we end the discussion here? We have a motion on the floor. We'll call the question, but put a question, the question aspect of it, we'll discuss that in CAL, right? And then when I make contact with Terry, once we've appointed him, then we can go over some of those to clear it up before we get together with him in September. If that is okay. And then back to Trustee Miller's point, right? Next year when we're looking at the evaluation, we'll look at multiple evaluators to be presented. Okay? Is that fair? So we can move along. Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. I will call the question. All in favor of appoint the motion on the floor? Thank you. Those online? Can I see them? Look at them. Yeah.
Right, that box corner.
Box corner.
Hit
Just one
hit that
second.
one.
There you go. Okay, all in favor? There we go, carried. So we'll have Terry as our facilitator on September 13th for the board, for the soup, and then the 27th for the board. Thank you. All right, we have the committee reports now. Finance, I know we've talked a lot about money. Any question or comments? Okay, I don't see any hands up. We'll go to Labor Committee. Okay. All right. Perfect. Nothing. ASBA. So like I've stated, once ASBA is met for their final proposals, I'll look at them and then we'll make time to see if we have to get together before the AGM, and then we'll go from there. All right. Okay, that is done. We'll go to item number 8, in-camera item, collective bargaining. Okay, who all is staying? I will need a motion for that. Oh.
I can make
Go ahead.
I would make a motion that we go in camera.
Okay, who all is staying?
Who would like? I would certainly think.
Just senior admin.
Yes, senior admin. Okay. All right. Yes, senior admin.